Usually when we talk about starting a retail business, the formula is pretty straightforward. You find a physical product, you build a digital storefront, you run some ads, and then you just sell.
Right, simple commerce.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like you bake a cake, you sell a cake.
Okay.
But you sent us this stack of research for our deep dive today that completely shatters that logic.
Oh, it really does.
Yeah, we're looking at this 36-minute comprehensive guide, and it details all these hidden traps of the online dietary supplement industry. And, well, the ultimate irony here is that you can buy the physical product, your metaphorical cake, right, for roughly $425.
Yeah, which is nothing.
It's nothing. But if a customer leaves a glowing review on your website saying your cake cured their migraines, well, the government suddenly treats your baked goods like an illegal, unapproved pharmaceutical drug.
Which is terrifying for a new business owner.
It's completely wild. So, okay, let's unpack this. Because our mission today is to decode this surprisingly complex, high-stakes world of selling supplements on Shopify. We need to navigate payment gateways, FDA claims, manufacturing costs, big tech advertising rules.
Right.
And it all points to one bizarre reality, which is that success in this niche isn't actually about having the most revolutionary vitamin.
No, not at all. Success here is entirely about mastering the sequence of compliance.
Okay, the sequence of compliance.
For physical product, it almost comes second to the administrative paperwork and the legal order of operations. So the very first trap that aspiring merchants fall into is a really fundamental misunderstanding of who is actually making the rules. I mean, they spend weeks researching the wrong rule books.
What do you mean by the wrong rule books?
Well, they falsely assume that because they're building a website on Shopify, Shopify is the entity regulating their ability to sell.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's their platform, right? Exactly. That's the logical assumption. But if you actually come through Shopify's acceptable use policy or their shop channel prohibited list, words like supplements or vitamins or nutraceuticals, they're completely absent.
Wait, really? They don't mention them at all?
No. For a standard domestic storefront, the platform itself is largely agnostic about your vitamin C capsules.
Okay, which completely begs the question. Because if the platform isn't the one banning these products, who is constantly shutting down these supplement stores?
Yeah.
Because anyone who has looked into this space, it happens overnight, all the time. Stores just vanish.
Yeah, they do. And the real gatekeeper isn't the e-commerce platform. It's the payment processor.
The money.
Always the money. Shopify Payments is just a front-end interface, a white-labeled shell. The actual underwriting decisions, those are being made by the massive financial institutions backing the transaction. So processors like Stripe or PayPal.
Right. Okay.
And if you read their specific restricted business lists, they explicitly ban something called pseudopharmaceuticals.
Pseudopharmaceuticals. I mean, that sounds incredibly vague. It almost sounds like a sci-fi term. How does a bank even define what makes a standard vitamin a pseudopharmaceutical?
Well, what's fascinating here is the mechanism they use to enforce this. The processors aren't primarily concerned with a specific list of prohibited botanical ingredients.
Okay.
Their algorithms are hunting for risk. So Stripe, for instance, they restrict nutraceuticals that make harmful claims or health claims that lack verification by a regulatory body.
Oh, I see.
So the ban isn't triggered just because the physical product sitting in your warehouse is a supplement. It's triggered by the relationship between the product and an unverified health claim you are making in your marketing copy.
Oh.
And they police this using automated web crawlers.
So they have bots just reading your site.
Exactly. Before a processor ever approves your account to accept credit cards, their bots scrape your live Shopify URL. They scan your product descriptions, your headers, even the image alt text.
The alt text.
Yeah, they look everywhere for flagged medical keywords.
Okay, so it's like Shopify is a landlord saying you're perfectly welcome to lease the building, but the bank Stripe or PayPal is refusing to give you a cash register because they don't like the sign you hung in your front window.
That analogy perfectly illustrates the dynamic. I mean, merchants really must read their specific payment processor's restricted list, not just Shopify's general terms of service.
Right.
And the critical operational takeaway here is that this automated assessment is a judgment call. And it's made on your live product copy, usually before you've even paid your manufacturer for the inventory.
That is wild. So if the bank's automated crawler is judging my business based on the claims on my website, then I can't just, throw up some catchy marketing copy and hope for the best.
Definitely not.
I need to know exactly what words are legally allowed to cross the line, which pulls us away from the financial institutions and, well, brings us face-to-face with the ultimate word police, which is the FDA.
Yeah, the FDA. And they completely flip the script on how consumers and new merchants think about product safety. Well, most people intuitively assume that before a bottle of vitamins hits a digital shelf, some government authority checked the factory and signed a piece of paper approving the product.
Right, like a safety stamp or something.
Exactly. But under federal law, the FDA explicitly does not have the authority to approve dietary supplements before they are marketed.
Wait, pre-market? They don't approve them at all?
No pre-market approval. Their power is almost entirely limited to post-market enforcement.
So, meaning they let you launch, they wait for you to cross a legal line in your marketing, and then they drop the hammer.
Precisely. All the liability rests squarely on the shoulders of the merchant. The evidence proving a product's safety and the scientific justification for every single sentence on your website, that has to exist in the merchant's filing cabinet long before the store goes live.
Oh man, that is a lot of pressure.
It really is. And sorting your marketing copy requires understanding 3 distinct legal categories. And getting the categorization wrong is usually fatal to a new brand.
Okay, let's go through them. What's the first one?
First, you have the structure function claim. This describes a nutrient's role in maintaining the normal structure or function of the human body. The classic example is calcium builds strong bones.
Okay, that sounds like standard wellness marketing. I imagine that's the easiest bucket to play in.
It is the most common, but it still requires formal action. You don't need FDA pre-approval to say it, but the manufacturer is legally required to submit the exact text of that claim to the FDA within 30 days of the supplement entering the market.
It's 30 days. Okay.
Plus, your label must carry a specific federal disclaimer.
Right, the standard disclaimer. What's the second category?
The second is much stricter. It's the health claim. This explicitly links a product or ingredient to a specific disease or health-related condition.
So like saying it lowers cholesterol or something.
Exactly. And if you want to make a health claim, you must submit a petition and receive FDA evaluation and authorization prior to ever using that claim in commerce.
Okay, yeah. That sounds like a massive bureaucratic hurdle that a lean startup would want to avoid entirely.
Oh, absolutely. Most of them try to stay away from it.
So what's the third category then?
The third is the disease claim. This is when a merchant states, either explicitly or implicitly, that a product treats, prevents, or cures a specific disease.
Okay.
If you make a disease claim, the FDA no longer considers your product a dietary supplement. In the eyes of the law, you have just manufactured an unapproved drug.
Wow.
And it will be regulated or confiscated as an unapproved drug.
Okay, let me push back on this a little bit because it seems wildly impractical for a modern e-commerce brand.
Sure.
Say I'm selling a standard safe magnesium supplement, right? I'm not making any wild promises in my product description. I'm playing by the rules. But I post a glowing, verbatim customer review on my homepage where a buyer says, this completely cured my chronic migraines.
Oh, boy.
Are you telling me that because I amplified a real customer's voice, I've accidentally transformed my vitamin into an illegal, unapproved drug?
Yes, you have entirely crossed the regulatory line into unapproved drug territory.
Just from a review.
Just from a review. Because it's not just the FDA watching you. It's the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, as well.
Okay, what do they have to do with it?
Well, the FTC mandates that any health claim must be backed by competent and reliable scientific evidence. Their guidance explicitly states that anecdotal evidence, so like individual consumer experiences, testimonials, customer surveys, that is never sufficient to substantiate a claim about the effects of a health product.
Wow.
The government views you, the brand owner, as the publisher. If you choose to publish a customer's disease claim to sell a product, you are adopting that claim as your own marketing.
So a customer saying it worked for me is not just legally meaningless as proof. It's actually an active liability for the brand.
Exactly. Because the regulatory net captures implied claims just as aggressively as explicit ones. I mean, think about the standard playbook for direct-to-consumer marketing. You've got before and after photos, the talking points you put in an influencer brief, the subject lines of your email newsletters, or even a branded search term. If any of those elements imply a cure or treatment for a disease, you've triggered the ban. This raises a really important question about operational liability. You just cannot claim ignorance or hide behind user-generated content.
Man, and to ensure consumers aren't misled, the government requires that famous FDA disclaimer, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one that says, this statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
That's the one.
But the source material for this deep dive highlights a very specific recent update to how this disclaimer must be handled, right? It was December 2025.
Yeah, on December 11th, 2025, the FDA eased their enforcement discretion just a little bit.
Okay.
Historically, if a physical label had a qualifying claim on multiple sides of the box, that lengthy disclaimer had to be printed on every single panel where the claim appeared, which, as you can imagine, was a nightmare for packaging design.
Oh, ruined the whole aesthetic.
It totally does. So the December 2025 update eased that every panel requirement,
Okay.
but the easing stops there. The disclaimer must absolutely still be on the label, and it must be clearly linked, usually by an asterisk, to the claims being made.
You know, our source mentions a brilliant operational trick for Shopify store owners regarding this exact thing.
The hard coding.
Yes, because if you rely on your marketing team to manually paste that disclaimer into the product description every single time they launch a new SKU, eventually someone is going to forget.
Oh, human error is inevitable.
Right, so the solution is to hard code the text of the FDA disclaimer directly into your Shopify product page template. That way, it renders automatically on every single product page. It just completely eliminates human error.
Building compliance into the architecture of your storefront is the only way to survive, because if the FTC and the FDA are holding your feet to the fire over every single word you publish, you cannot afford to blindly trust what a factory tells you is inside the bottle either.
Which brings us to the physical product itself. If you bear total legal liability for the claims, you better be certain of what's happening on the factory floor. And here's where it gets really interesting. Because the financial barrier to entry for manufacturing is shockingly low, which honestly feels like a massive trap.
It is a trap. The barrier to entry is almost non-existent. If a merchant wants to white label a private supplement, meaning they select a manufacturer's already developed standard formula and simply apply their own branding, the minimum order quantities can be incredibly small.
Yeah.
The research points to manufacturers publishing minimums as low as 500 units.
The source quotes the starting price for standard capsules at just 85 cents each. So you do the math on that, and you're looking at a total entry ticket of $425.
Yeah.
It seems so easy to just swipe a credit card for 500 bottles. But if you haven't researched the federal supply chain laws, you haven't bought a business. You've just purchased $425 worth of illegal liabilities.
Exactly. And the trap snaps shut on merchants who don't understand 21 CFR Part 111.
Okay, what is that?
That is the federal code outlining good manufacturing practices for dietary supplements. A lot of e-commerce founders read the phrase manufacturing practices, and they assume, well, it only applies to the guys wearing hairnets operating the heavy machinery in the factory.
Right, like the actual mixing of the powders. But the legal definition of manufacturing is broader than that, right?
Much broader. The regulation explicitly lists the activities it covers, and one of the core activities is holding a dietary supplement.
Holding, like storing it.
Exactly. Now, there is an exemption for retail establishments holding stock for direct walk-in retail sale, like a corner store.
Right.
But the law clearly states that a retail establishment does not include a warehouse or other storage facility. So the moment you rent a third-party logistics warehouse, a 3PL, to store your online inventory, you are no longer just a marketer.
Oh, wow.
Legally, you are a node in the manufacturing supply chain, and you are subject to those federal regulations.
That completely shatters the illusion of the easy laptop lifestyle dropshipping business. I mean, what other regulatory landmines are hiding in that $400 order?
Well, the NDI rule catches a lot of brands trying to be innovative. It stands for New Dietary Ingredient. The Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act, passed in 1994, basically reset the industry. Any ingredient that was already being marketed in a U.S. supplement before October 15th, 1994, was essentially grandfathered in.
Okay, so older stuff is fine.
Right. But if your formula includes an ingredient that wasn't on the market before that specific date, you are legally required to submit a 75-day pre-market notification to the FDA.
75 days.
Yes, complete with safety evidence before that product can ever cross state lines.
Wow. So if a founder wants to be trendy and includes some, newly discovered exotic botanical extract they saw on TikTok, they just injected 2.5 months of regulatory waiting time into their launch calendar.
Assuming they even have the safety data to submit, which most don't. And beyond that, you still have to prove that what is in the bottle actually matches the label. To do that, you need a certificate of analysis, or a COA.
COA. Okay.
This is a certified lab test proving the identity, purity, strength, and composition of the product. And a lot of Shopify merchants look for shortcuts here. They install marketplace apps like Batchly or Sipliful, assuming the software will just handle the compliance.
Yeah, there's an app for everything, right?
Right, but those apps cannot solve the underlying legal requirement. Batchly is great for tracking lot numbers and expiration dates for inventory management, but it doesn't generate the chemical analysis. And Sipliful is a marketplace managing its own suppliers.
I see.
If you are sourcing your own private label product, that certificate of analysis must come directly from your manufacturer, and it must be linked to the specific lot number of the batch you just purchased.
Man, it's all about verifying the physical reality against the marketing claims. And while we are talking about the physical product, the format you choose actually dictates your entire financial model. We mentioned the $425 for 500 bottles of capsules. But if you want to sell gummies, well, the source notes that gummies cost roughly 8 times more to manufacture than sachets or capsules.
8 times more.
Yeah. And if gummies cost that much more to produce, but the consumer's price tolerance for a bottle of vitamins is roughly the same, regardless of format, your choice of format isn't just a fun branding decision. It dictates your entire profit margin.
It really does. And finding accurate margin data is incredibly difficult. Gross margins are the most tightly kept secret in this industry.
Really?
Oh, yeah. If you scour manufacturer pages, marketplace apps, and cost guides, nobody publishes a reliable percentage or range. You have to build your margin model from scratch, accounting for your specific landed costs, the testing, and the shipping.
Okay, so let's map out the timeline for a new founder just to visualize this. You place your order, and the manufacturer tells you it will take 4 to 6 weeks to produce the lot and run the COA tests.
Right. And that 4 to 6 week production window is the most critical period of the business. That is when you build the Shopify store, you hard-code your templates with the FDO disclaimers, and you submit your live copy to your payment processor for underwriting approval.
So you have to do it all at the same time.
Yes, you must secure the gateway approval before the stock physically lands in your warehouse. Doing it in reverse results in a warehouse full of aging product and a website that cannot legally process a credit card transaction.
What a nightmare. Okay, let's assume our listener has navigated the underwriting, they've appeased the FDA, and their legally compliant batch of capsules is sitting in an approved warehouse. They are finally ready to sell.
For the fun part.
Right, but now they have to actually acquire customers. And it turns out big tech's advertising algorithms can be just as draconian as federal law.
Oh, absolutely. Marketing a supplement online is an exercise in survival economics. Standard e-commerce ad strategies simply do not apply here.
Give me an example.
Well, Google Shopping, for instance, outright bans products containing ephedra globally. They also heavily restrict ingredients like melatonin and DHEA geographically. You cannot sell melatonin via Google Shopping in the US, and it is also restricted in countries like Canada, France, Germany, and Spain unless you have specific regional allowances.
That is so specific.
Yeah.
And what about Meta? Because Facebook and Instagram, they're usually the primary growth engines for direct-to-consumer brands.
Meta enforces incredibly strict age gates on health products, but the crucial detail is how they want it executed. You cannot just put an 18+ sticker on your image creative.
Right.
The algorithm requires you to set the age gate at the campaign level. This ensures that when you duplicate ad sets or iterate on creatives, the restrictions survive. Because if you don't do that and you accidentally serve weight loss supplement ads to minors, that would get your ad account instantly banned.
Oh, wow.
They also aggressively police time to result disclosures.
What does that mean?
So if an ad creative shows a person experiencing a positive impact from a supplement, the creative must clearly and prominently disclose exactly how much time it took to achieve those noticeable results.
Okay, so what does this all mean for the merchant? It sounds like designing a supplement landing page is like walking into a courtroom. You know, you have to lead with your hardest evidence, the third-party lab tests, the certificates of analysis, long before you make your opening statement about how the product might actually benefit the customer.
The most successful brands operate exactly like that. Look at the highest performing Shopify themes in this niche. Themes like Farm or Vital, which cost between $160 and $320. They are structurally designed to support an evidence-first approach.
Evidence first, I like that.
The source highlights industry leaders like Caged, Onnit, and Ritual. Caged doesn't lead with wild promises. They put third-party sport certifications and a 60-day return guarantee on the very first screen.
Immediate trust.
Right. And Ritual, they place a visual trust strip of named certifications and their actual clinical study investment figures right next to the buy button.
Because a verifiable fact, like certified by a third-party lab, that can carry the weight of a sale without triggering an FDA violation.
Mm-hmm.
But a promise, like guaranteed to cure your daily fatigue, gets your payment gateway permanently shut down.
Exactly. And this evidence-first trust building leads directly to the ultimate economic reality of the space, which is the subscription model. A typical bottle of vitamins lasts 30 to 60 days, right?
Sure.
The first-order acquisition economics in supplements are notoriously brutal because compliance makes ads so restrictive and expensive. A brand rarely profits on the first bottle. The real margin isn't realized until the reorder cycle, usually around month 3.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, subscriptions aren't just a nice feature to add in phase 2, they are a day 1 launch requirement.
Absolutely. Day 1.
But let me challenge this, because earlier we established that Stripe or PayPal might shut down your primary Shopify storefront gateway for a health claim violation.
Right?
So if Stripe bans your storefront, wouldn't they also refuse to process your recurring subscription payments on the back end?
It is a brilliant question, and it comes down to how underwriting risk is aggregated. Shopify Payments acts as a massive umbrella, aggregating the risk of millions of merchants, which makes their automated filters incredibly sensitive.
Okay.
However, the native Shopify subscription app is not exclusively tied to Shopify Payments. If Shopify Payments rejects your business model, you can take your specific business history directly to a third-party gateway. So you go to Stripe Direct, ADN, PayPal Express, or Authorize.net to establish a direct merchant account.
Oh, I see.
Because the native subscription app integrates with these third-party gateways, a store that is declined by the built-in aggregated platform gateway can still legally run a recurring revenue book on a direct merchant account. And that recurring revenue is the absolute lifeblood of the supplement business.
Man, it always comes back to the sequence.
Oh,
And this is exactly why we wanted to tailor this deep dive for you, based on the sources you provided. Succeeding in a high-regulation, high-reward space like this is entirely about the legal order of operations. Doing things in the wrong sequence, like, buying your physical stock before clearing your marketing copy with a payment crawler, or making a disease claim before securing a merchant account, is the single biggest point of failure.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter how incredible your formula is if the bank unplugs your cash register on launch day.
it is an incredibly meticulous industry. You have to operate as a direct response marketer, a regulatory compliance officer, and a supply chain manager all simultaneously. But when the sequence is properly executed, it creates a highly resilient business model.
Which leaves me with a final thought to mull over. We started by talking about the cake, right? How anyone can buy the physical product for just $425. If the physical barrier to entry to white label a supplement is that incredibly low, the regulatory, payment underwriting, and marketing hurdles are so massively complex. Is the future of the supplement industry really about discovering the next new miracle ingredient? Or is it entirely about who can build the most legally airtight, subscription-based trust funnel?
I'd say the competitive advantage has definitely shifted away from the factory floor and entirely into the realm of compliance and customer retention.
Yeah, something to think about the next time you're scrolling Instagram. I highly invite you to go explore your own favorite supplement brands online today. Check their homepages, see if you can spot the hard-coded FDA disclaimers, the strategic placement of third-party trust badges instead of medical promises, and just look at how carefully they navigate the line between a structure claim and a disease claim. You'll never look at a bottle of vitamins the same way again. Until next time.